morning to all of you. Welcome to this Sunday's satsang. Today's discussion, Dr. Sane asked me to talk about Guru, means teacher, also called Acharya, preceptor, the one who teaches us about subject matters we know little about. And Guru plays a very important role in our lives, starting with our mothers and fathers who teach us right from the beginning up until through grade school, etc., etc. They play a very important role. And there are two types of teachers or gurus, Shiksha Guru and Diksha Guru. Shiksha Guru is the teacher who teaches us mathematics, chemistry, anatomy, geology, political science, etc., etc. And that person who teaches these topics is well qualified. Shrotriya is very well qualified in what she is teaching. And her goal is to ensure that the students understand the subject matter and clearly have a grasp of what is being taught. And she is available to counsel students if they have any doubts, to remove them, and also monitors their progress throughout the semester by homework problems, quizzes, midterm exams, and so on, and finally certifies the student whether he or she has succeeded in the course. So that is the general aim of the Shiksha Guru. And Shiksha Gurus also play an important role in catching when the student is not properly chosen the major. So she may counsel the student that your aptitude does not lie in electrical engineering. From what I've observed, your aptitude lies more in computer science. So perhaps you should think of switching the major. So Guru plays an important role in shaping the life of the student. And sometimes the Guru might also say, you probably have chosen the science and engineering as your major. That's not your strong forte. From what I can gather, you might do better in some other major. So he can also counsel on what the student is not able to perceive by himself. I had a student in my class, and he was extremely good. I used to grade the homework, and I also found every time I graded the homework, I found his particular way of answering the question or solving the problem was always out of the box. Very original thinker. So I advised him to continue applying his knowledge in the other areas of electrical engineering and secure a fairly decent grade. And then he should go on to graduate school. And he was not very sure of graduate school, but finally he ended up going to Berkeley, got his PhD, specialized in robotics, wrote a very successful book on robotics. A few years later, he stopped in my office and said, if you hadn't pestered me to continue electrical engineering and put my efforts in other courses, I probably would never have gone beyond the bachelor's degree. So I want to thank you. That's the reward a teacher gets. So the teacher has an important role to play in monitoring the student. That's in the Shiksha Guru. The Diksha Guru is the one who gives you the spiritual knowledge. He is the one who opens your spiritual eye. And he should be very well qualified in whatever he is teaching. That is, he should be a Shrotriya. So he knows very well, with no ambiguity whatsoever, the meaning of the statements such as Tattvamasi, Aham Brahmasmi, and various other statements that are in our literature. He should also a Brahmanishta, established in Brahman. That is, he has attained moksha and he is completely at ease with himself And he knows his true nature is Satchidananda, and the way he talks and the way he interacts with people clearly shows his understanding. So he is a Brahmanishta, established firmly in Brahman. Atmaneyeva Atmana Tushtaha Sita Pragna Sadochate, as Krishna says. So he is a man of wisdom. In the Vedic statement, we have the statement Tamasoma Jyotirgamaya. Lead me from darkness to light. Tamasoma Jyotirgamaya. In this context, it means lead me from ignorance to knowledge. Lead me from ignorance to knowledge. Ignorance and knowledge are opposites of each other. As in the Guru Stotra, he says, Ajnanatimirandasya Gnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Devo Maheshwara, Guru Eva Param Brahma, Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Gnana Timirandhasya, Gnananjana Shalakaya, Chakshurun Militam yena, Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. My salutations to that reverential teacher who opened my eyes by applying the divine ointment of self-knowledge in my eyes, which had gotten blinded by the cataract of ignorance. So Guru is the one who opens your eyes to your true nature, which is Satchidananda. Purandaradasa, one of the famous poets in Kannada language, has said, Guruvina gulamana tanaka dorayadanna mukuti. Guruvina gulamana tanayaka dorayadanna mukuti. Unless you serve your spiritual teacher with faith, and you will not attain the spiritual wisdom, or you will not attain true nature of yourself. And also in another poem he says, Guru Rayana Nambiro, Guru Rayana Nambiro. That is, you should have full faith in the teaching of the Guru. So that is the background for what a spiritual teacher is. He is also called Acharya, he is also called Guru, preceptor. And what does the Guru do? The Guru has only one thing in mind, that is to open your eyes to your true nature. So he uses the words of the scriptures, that's the valid means of knowledge, Shabda Pramana, to reveal to me my true nature. I am Satchidananda, only I don't know it. I'm ignorant of it. It is already an accomplished fact. That's not something I have to accomplish, it's already accomplished. I need to be shown. That's the object, that's the role of the Guru. This is only possible, the Guru says, if you have a proper frame of mind. Your mind should be free of likes and dislikes, raga and dvesha, and you should be receptive to the teaching. And he tells you, you can establish that frame of mind by karma yoga. You can neutralize your likes and dislikes. You can offering all your actions to God and receiving the result as a prasad from the Lord. Ishvara Arpana Buddhi, Prasada Buddhi, definitions of Karma Yoga. That creates an abiding mind, and that mind is ready to gain knowledge of the true nature of the self. And where did the teacher come from? This spiritual teacher, Guru, had his own Guru. His own Guru. He comes from a lineage of Gurus. Sadashiva Samarambham, Shankaracharya Madhyamam, Asmadacharya Pariyantam, Vande Guru Paramparam. Beginning auspiciously with the Lord, with the teacher, Shankara in the middle, Extending as far as my teacher, I salute the progression of teachers. Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Devo Maheshwaraha, Guru Sakshat Param Brahma, Parabrahma, Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. Guru is verily the representative of Brahma, Vishnu, and Maheshwara. He creates, sustains knowledge, and destroys the weeds of ignorance. I salute such Guru. We also have Brahmanandam Parama Sukadam Kevalam Jnanamurtim Dvandvatitam Gagana Sadrusham Tattvamasya Laksham Ekam Nityam Vimalamashalam Sarvadi Sakshibhutam Bhavatitam Trigunarahitam Sadgurum Tam Namami. A salute to Sadguru, who is the source of eternal bliss, supreme happiness, who has true wisdom, who is beyond the dualities, who is infinite, whose attention is always on the divine, who is unique, eternal, pure, steady, who sees with the eyes of wisdom, who is beyond thoughts and beyond three gunas. We also see in the Taittiriya Upanishad, Matrudevo Bhava, Pitrudevo Bhava, Acharya Devo Bhava, Atiti Devo Bhava. May Acharya Devo Bhava, may you become the one to whom teacher is God. May you become the one to whom teacher is God. Acharya Devo Bhava. So Guru is the dispeller of darkness or ignorance, avidya. Guru is God himself. He manifests in a personal form to guide the spiritual aspirant. Grace of God takes the form of a Guru. Guru inspires devotion in others. His mere presence purifies all. He lifts the aspirant with his hands to the realm of truth. Qualifications of a Guru, as I said, is a Shrotriya. He has studied the scriptures and he has direct knowledge of the Atman, Brahmanishta. He alone can be called a Guru. In Mundakopanishad, chapter 1, section 2, verse 12. Let him, in order to obtain knowledge of the eternal, take sacrificial fuel, samit, and approach the preceptor who is versed in the Vedas and is established in Brahman. Tadvignanartham sagurumeva abhigachet samit panahi srotriyam brahmanishtam. He who has no personal knowledge but has only heard of many things cannot understand the meaning of scriptures, even as a spoon has no idea of the taste of the soup. That's in Mahabharata. If you have merely heard, the reason you need a guru is because of the following. When you study the scriptures, you come across statements that appear to be very contradictory, very confusing, and you need someone to explain, to dispel all the doubts. For example, in Bhagavad Gita it says, Uddharayat atmanatmanam natmanam avasadayet atmaiva hyatmane bandhuhu atmaiva ripuratmanaha. Lift yourself by yourself. Do not degrade yourself, because the Atman is your friend, and Atman is your self is your friend, and self is your enemy. Guru, I don't understand what he means by I am my own friend, I'm my own enemy. Please explain to me. So you need a guru to dispel such contradictions. Another one it says is, I am not in you, you are in me. You are not in me, I am in you. Contradictory statements. Either all the statements are true or all the statements are false. So the guru has to explain that all the statements are true, and he distinguishes between I and you in a very clear way so that you understand the meaning of what that says. Another verse that confuses people is Karmanyavadikaraste ma phalesha kadachana. Ma karma phalahe durbuhu. He says, you have authority over your actions. You do not have authority over the results. That may let that not make you inactive. Pursue your action. I need some explanation for that. Another place he says, one who sees me in everything and everything in me truly sees. What does seeing, Guru, means? Do I see with my physical eyes? What does that see means? What does it mean by seeing me in everything and everything in me? These verses, you can read the comments written by various scholars. It'll give you some idea as to what these verses mean. But in my opinion, you need a guru to sit down with you and explain. So Krishna always encourages the student to approach the guru with humility and ask questions repeatedly until your doubts are completely dispelled. So Guru is an ocean of knowledge, bliss and mercy. He is the captain of the aspirant soul. He is the fountain of joy. He shows the divine path. He removes all troubles, sorrows, and obstacles. He tastes he tastes the veil of ignorance. He gives the rope of knowledge with which to climb out of avidya. He is to be worshipped and bowed down with reverence, shraddha and bhakti. Guruvina gulama nagava tanaka dorayatanna mukuti. His very company is self-elimination. Living in his company is spiritual education. In him, there lies the ideal of human perfection. He is the pattern into which you should mold yourself. While the Guru takes the student to Moksha Dwara, the gateway to self-knowledge, it is the aspirant who has to enter through it. The Guru is a help, but the actual sadhana must be that of the aspirant. A patient who has undergone surgery for blindness must open his eyes to verify if he can see, and the surgeon cannot promise that the patient can see. Only the patient can verify. Similarly, a guru leads the aspirant to the moksha dwara, and it is up to the aspirant to realize self-knowledge. So it's very important to have the guru because he is the one who watches your progress until he is convinced that you are ready for self-knowledge. At which time he will look you in the eye deeply, and then you know that you are ready. You need a guru. Dr. Sane has emphasized the need for a guru. Otherwise, you don't know your progress. You need somebody else on the outside to assess your progress. To light a candle, you need a burning candle. An illumined soul only can enlighten another soul. The mind will mislead us very often. A guru will be able to remove the obstacles and lead us along the right path. The scriptures contain passages that appear to be contradictory. The guru can explain the right meaning, remove the doubts, ambiguities, and distill the essence of the teachings. Only a guru can spot our defects. Our ego does not permit us to find our own faults. Just as we cannot see our own backs, we cannot see our own defects. A guru is essential to point out our errors and eradicate them. All great ones had their teachers. Swetaketu from Uddalaka, Maitreyi from Yajnavalkya, Bhrigu from Varuna, Narada from Sanat Kumara, Nachiketa from Yama, Indra from Prajapati, Krishna from Sandipani, and Devas from Brihaspati. So all great people had their own gurus. And the question is how to find a guru. We are stuck in this cold climate in the state of Minnesota. Where do you find a guru? Or does the guru find you? It's a very important question to ask. In India, there used to be in the olden days ashramas wherein the student would go, is called and Gurukula, to study. And all his needs were taken care of, and all he had to do was serve the ashrama in whatever way the guru asked him to serve and learn the scriptures from the teacher. After spending several years, when the guru finally says, "Yes, you're ready, you can go on your own," that's when the education got completed, and then they began their own journey afterwards. But nowadays, it's very difficult. There are very few ashramas like that in India, very few ashramas like that even in the United States. And so, how to find a guru? One of the things they say is do not hop from guru to guru to guru. Stick to one guru. Just as you cannot draw water from the ground if you keep on poking only a few feet every now and then, but if you insist on digging a well at one spot, you will get the water. And the reason is very clear. Let's say I go to a guru who is in the tradition of Advaita Vedanta, and then he tells you all about the scriptures from the point of view of Advaita. And I don't like that. I think I'll try another ashrama. Then I go to an ashrama which is Dvaita Vedanta, which is the form, which is the lineage of Madhvacharya. And there they teach you the same scriptures from the Dvaita point of view. And then you switch and go on to another ashrama where they teach you the same scriptures from the Visishtadvaita, qualified dualism point of view of Sri Ramanujacharya. You get confused, very confused. So stick to one guru, and then your doubts will be resolved. It doesn't matter which particular path you choose, but stick to one guru. And you also have to be ready to go to a guru. There was a correspondent of Deccan Herald, which is an Indian daily in Bangalore, and he wanted to become a sannyasi. So he left his family, left his job, and went looking for a guru. He went from ashram to ashram to ashram, and finally ended up in an ashram in Rishikesh. After he spent some time there, the guru called him and told him, "You're not ready for sannyasa. Please go back. You still have attachment. I can see that you're not totally detached from everything. You still have a lot of attachment to your work, to your family. You're anxious all the time. So go back." So he went back, re-established his family, continued with his work, and finally he said, "You need a guru. If the guru had not told me that I was not ready, I probably would have pursued a path which would not be very helpful to me in the long run." So he was right. So the guru can spot the student's abilities, the student's defects, and he is not afraid to tell you. So that's the advantage of a guru. If you find peace in his presence, if you're inspired by his speeches, if he is able to clear your doubts, if he is free from anger, lust, and greed, if he is selfless, loving, and egoless, you can take him as your guru. So guru has a lot of these noble qualities. One who helps you from where you are, and in whose very presence you feel spiritually elevated, he is your guru. If you go near some of these established gurus who are really Brahmanishtas, immediately in their presence, you find calmness, you find peace. There is a different atmosphere around them. They're not rabble rousers. They put your mind quietly at ease. Once you choose your guru, follow him. God will guide you through him. Do not despair if it takes a while to find a guru. If you're sincere in your pursuit, God will help you find one. When the time is ripe, the Lord brings the guru and the disciple together in a mysterious way. We don't know how, but that happens. And we talked about Shiksha Guru and Diksha Guru. Diksha Guru is the one who teaches the path of realization. He removes the ignorance. You have great fear when you approach the Guru because you somehow surrender your innermost positions to this Guru. You lose your ego completely. That fear is caused by our ego, our inability to accept idea of strict Guru Seva. Bhagavan Sri Krishna advises Arjuna, prostrate, question, and do service. Gain knowledge through Guru's grace. Seers of the truth will unfold divine knowledge if their feet you hold. Tadvidhi pranipatena praniprishneya sevaya upadekshayanti te jnanam jnananistva darshinaha. If you dig shallow pits here and there, you don't get any water. So if you want to study, you stick to one guru. And we talked about Guru Shishya Swayamvara. Realization does not come as a miracle done by your guru. You must do a sadhana. You must prepare yourself. Strive, purify, meditate, and realize. 3 graces are necessary to achieve self-realization. Your own effort, sadhana kripa, grace of the guru, guru kripa, and divine grace, daiva kripa. Guru kripa is absolutely necessary. Whether in secular life or spiritual life, guru kripa is absolutely necessary. The student must do spiritual practice. Guru kripa will hasten your attaining moksha. The guru and the scriptures can show you the right path and remove your doubts. A hungry man has to eat for himself. A man with an itch will have to scratch himself. Follow carefully the instruction of the guru, then only you deserve his blessings. The guru will tell you to prepare yourself for Atma Jnana. He recommends certain mental disciplines which enable the mind of the student to absorb the teaching. With such an abiding mind, the student is able to hear, reflect, and meditate. Shravana, Manana, Nididhyasana on the teaching. The disciple, this discipline is known as Sadhana Chatushtaya. We have seen that already. Viveka, Vairagya, Shama, Dhamma, Titiksha, Upariti, Shraddha, Samadhana. So we need to practice those very diligently, very carefully, until our mind is calm and clear and free to, no likes and dislikes, no prejudices, no hidden agendas. With an open mind, you can receive the knowledge of the Guru. The Viveka, Vairagya, and of course, there are obstacles in learning, in almost any learning, whether it is secular learning or spiritual learning. And these obstacles have been pointed out in Brihad Aranyaka Upanishad. We are warned of 3 obstacles. These are Kama, Krodha, and Lobha. Kama is desire, Krodha is anger, and Lobha is greed. When the Devatas, Manushyas, and demons go to Prajapati for knowledge of the self, Prajapati gives all of them one syllable, Da, Da. The Da mantra has great significance to each one of us, even today. All of us have a mixture of 3 obstacles, Kama, Krodha, Lobha, and one may be dominant over the other at any time. The Devas have access to all enjoyments. They live in a loka of milk and honey. They seem to be addicted to too much enjoyment. To them, or to those of us who have this tendency, Da means Damyata. Damyata means restrain yourself, subdue your senses. Do not go too much in the direction of the enjoyment of the senses. Kama is to be controlled by self-restraint. Manushyas or humans by nature are greedy. Holding appears to be their nature. Da for them means datta. Datta means give in charity. Do not keep with you more than what you need. Do not take what you have not given. Do not appropriate what does not belong to you. Be charitable. Greed is to be controlled by generosity, by charity. To the demons, Da means dayadhvam. Be merciful of others. Do not be cruel and hard-hearted. Anger is to be controlled by mercy. So we need to practice these very carefully to overcome the three obstacles for attaining any knowledge. Damyata, Datta, Dayadvamiti, Tadde, Tadde Tatrayam Shikshet. These are the three types of advice that we have to imbibe, take in, and learn from a guru. The three instructions, self restraint, charity, and mercy, are the three great virtues of everyone who is aspiring to attain self knowledge. In the Gita also, Sri Krishna says in chapter 16, desire, anger, and greed are the three gates to hell and the reason for the destruction of understanding. Therefore, give up these. The absence of desire for enjoyments here and hereafter is dispassion. Through meditation, the mind is stilled. Through discrimination, the mind is detached. Another way to regulate the mind is to please the mind through the songs and stories of God. Yet another way is through the repetition of the holy name. Arjuna says, for the mind is very fickle, O Krishna. It is impetuous, strong, and obstinate. I think it is as difficult to control as the wind. The Lord had warned earlier, when the mind runs after the roving senses, it carries away the understanding, even as the wind carries away a ship on the waters. So we need to develop these techniques consciously, regularly, before we are ready to receive that knowledge. And faith in the Guru means not a blind faith. You accept the Guru's words until you verify yourself, which will come eventually. Faith is love, and love is God. Even Sri Rama needed a bridge to cross the ocean, whereas his devotee Hanuman flew across the ocean by the power of faith. Faith moves mountains. During times of crisis, intellectual erudition and philosophy are replaced by faith. And so we see the necessity for a guru. And my question when I talked to Dr. Sane and say, I would be happy to share my thoughts on guru, I thought I would pose this question to all the audience. I want the rest of the time for you to chime in and give your own ideas about this. So we have talked about the importance of guru. There's no question about it, that we need a guru for spiritual progress. For millions of people, this may be a very difficult path. Are there any alternatives? Can we find any alternatives other than working with under the guidance of a guru? My purpose in presenting the following possibilities is to stimulate the discussion. We can say, let's follow the dictum of Gita. Manmana bhava madbhakto madhyaji mam namaskuru. Bhagavan Sri Krishna says this twice in the Bhagavad Gita. Manmana bhava madbhakto madhyaji mam namaskuru. Mame vaishi satyante pratijane priyosime. Be me-minded, be devoted to me, offer all your actions to me, and bow down to me. That's get rid of your ego. How difficult it is in our present day and age. You think about it, it's not very easy. It's not very easy. So if you think you can be your own guru by following this advice, it is possible, but I feel it's going to be very, very difficult. Another way is, why don't you have a picture of a guru in your mind while you are in deep contemplation? That might work. Example, Ekalavya wanted to learn archery from Dronacharya, but Dronacharya would not take him as a student. Arjuna was Dronacharya's student. So Ekalavya went back to the forest and he created a little image of Dronacharya out of mud, and he would worship that image as guru, as God, and then practice his archery. And once during a particular incident, Dronacharya found out that Ekalavya had exceeded the limits of archery, that he was indisputable champion of archery. Arjuna was very upset. Because when Ekalavya said, my guru is this Dronacharya, this Vigraha that I have created, that's my guru. The Arjuna was very upset that Dronacharya did not tell him the truth. So Dronacharya then asks for Guru Dakshina and takes away Ekalavya's thumb. So Ekalavya could no more be an archer, and Arjuna became by de facto the archer, the greatest archer. So we can do that. Have a picture of the guru in mind when you do your contemplation. Perhaps you reach self-realization. Possible. I won't discount that. Follow the example of a realized master, molding your life. Let an enlightened person be your role model. That would also work. But you have to choose the right role model and then practice diligently the scriptures. You might be enlightened. During the pandemic, the temple had remote access to Archana and Abhishekams. It was widely popular. One could also conduct samskaras like birthdays, shraddhas, etc. remotely with the help of a priest at the temple. Is there a possibility that an ashram opens up an opportunity for a teleguru using the latest technology? A miniaturized version of that Sunday satsang on Zoom, we see it right here, where we have gurus like Dr. Sane and Professor Rambachan, who enlightens us on the various aspects of scriptures and answer questions to remove any doubts that we might have. Is it possible various ashrams that are inside the United States or perhaps even in India to have a teleguru program? So we who work very hard over the weeks, perhaps we can go over the weekend, listen to their talks on the internet, and then interact with the guru remotely, asking questions. So that probably is, my feeling is, if this idea takes hold, it probably is a good way for millions of people who do not have access to a guru to still attain self-knowledge. And then there's Sharanagati, a viable option. Sri Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Sarva dharman parityajya mamekam sharanam vraja aham twas papebhyo moksha ishyami mashacha. I will remove all of your sins and guarantee moksha. All you have to do is surrender to me. Surrender means take refuge in me. Very difficult concept to understand and to put into practice. What does surrender mean? For example, in the home study Bhagavad Gita of Swami Dayanandaji, on this particular verse, he has about 6 to 7 pages, single space, double-sided, on Sharanagati. And he explains how difficult it is, the concept of Sharanagati is. So it might look very simple. I take refuge in you. But take refuge in you means total surrender, total surrender. If you're drowning in a lake and somebody who you do not know, or maybe you know, but you don't care for him, he offers his hand to you, then you have full faith in him that he will rescue you. So you take refuge in his offer, and then he will rescue you from that. So Sharanagati is not a very easy concept to understand, easy concept to practice. I feel that's not going to be a very easy one to do. Should I wait until all my karmas are exhausted to attain mukti because I can't find a guru? Now, liberation means you do not have any more karma to exhaust. All you have is your prarabdha karma. When you exhaust your prarabdha karma, then your sukshma sharira, or the subtle body with all there are no vasanas in it, and then when it exits your gross body or the stula sharira, there is no more rebirth. If you have not exhausted all your vasanas, the subtle body, along with the vasanas, will find a suitable gross body to enter into so that you can continue on the journey. So eventually you will reach moksha. So you could say, why do I have to worry about all of these things? Let things go happen. And maybe in this life, I will exhaust all my prarabdha karma. I will attain moksha. Well, there's a speculation, very difficult, and I don't think I want to gamble on that. Then in chapter 8, Bhagavan Sri Krishna said, remember me at the time of your death. I will grant you moksha. Remember me at the time of death. I'll grant you moksha. Whatever you think at the time of death, you will become. Well, why don't I wait until my time of death? Then I'll get moksha. Well, who knows what my time of death is? And who knows what my frame of mind is at the time of death? How do I know that I'll remember Lord Krishna at the time of death? When I don't, there are so many unknowns that I simply cannot gamble on the unknowns. It's a very interesting story. Shiva and Parvati were in the sky taking an evening ride, and they saw on the ground, on the earth, a blind man. Om Namah Shivaya, Shiva Parvatiye Namaha. Om Namah Shivaya, Shiva Parvatiye Namaha. He was always chanting that and walking along with his cane. Then Parvati looked at Shiva and said, you know, he's so bhakta. He's always remembering Shiva, Shiva Parvati. You have the power. Why don't you remove his blindness? Give his eyesight back. Shiva said, I can't do that. That is his karma, is exhausting. I cannot do that. The Parvati insisted to give him the eyesight. Shiva said, okay, I agree with you on one condition. And what's the condition? Asked Parvati. At the time when he gets his eyes back, if he remembers me, I will continue to grant his eyesight. If he remembers you, I will continue to grant his eyesight. If he remembers neither of us, I cannot guarantee his eyesight. Parvati agreed. And so the blind man was walking by, Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya, and suddenly he tripped on a stone. As soon as he suddenly tripped on a stone, Om Namah Shivaya went as a lot of expletives came out of his mind. So you don't know when good things are going to happen to you. You don't remember the exact time. So to follow Krishna's advice is very good. If you continuously have thoughts of God in your mind all the time, manmana bhava, always if you have God minded, then it's possible. A great possibility exists that you will remember God at the time of your death. But you cannot dismiss the idea of learning from a guru just because you can postpone everything until the time of your death. So I don't think that option is really viable. It's a good option. If nothing else, it'll force you to be manmanabhava, madbhakto, madhyaji, mam namaskuru. Very noble traits indeed. So we talked about many of these issues. And so my question to you is, those of you who are here learning about the scriptures and the meaning of the various terms in the scriptures, what do you do to find a guru? And if you can't find a guru, do you give up or do you have any alternatives? I'll stop here except to recite once more a couple of verses from the Guru Stotra. Akandamandalakaram vyaptam yena characharam tatpadam darshitam yena tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Devo Maheshwara, Guru Sakshat Parabrahma, Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Okay, now it's all up to the audience to offer your comments.
Prasanna, thank you very much for a enlightening presentation this morning, and I'm glad you took up the topic and ran with it through your heart. And we learned a great deal, including the fun story about the student who went on to Berkeley. Just want to make a few comments because I want to hear what other people in the audience are also thinking. Remember, being a physician, I can go to the library and read umpteen number of books from the library, and library is always big. But by reading those books, I cannot be a good doctor. I need to have a living physician who is my mentor, who can guide me through the medical college. So you need somebody who's alive, who can direct you, because textbooks can take you to a certain level of understanding. But unless there's a living entity who can see that you're understanding what you're reading, you really don't get to that particular place. Now, the reason for that simply is that there's so many diseases that we see in medicine. We have similar signs and symptoms. And the same disease has multiple treatments. But the mentor, having had an experience in life, is able to teach me what particular symptoms in this context mean this particular disease. And in this particular patient, with this particular preponderance, presence, what you call tendencies, this medicine will be most effective. That's why that personal experience of a mentor is very critical. So a living teacher is absolutely necessary. Now, it's a fact that every spiritual aspirant will get involved in the obstacles, challenges, impediments in his life. He'll face dangers, and he will have pitfalls as he proceeds on his spiritual journey. But you need an experienced guide along with you, because he has gone through that path himself, so he can guide you in that way. For example, if you're trying to go on to Mount Everest, if you are one with a common sense, will always take a guide with you, one who has been there, who has been in those situations, who can make sure that you don't fall down. So that's why you need somebody who is experienced in that way. Now, other thing to remember is, just as you rightly said, that the teacher has seen umpteen number of students in his lifetime. He can see the strengths of a student, weakness of the student. So he can bring out the strength of the student and make sure that he continues to work on those strengths and becomes beneficial to himself and the society. He can recognize the weaknesses of the individual and makes the student work on those weaknesses and overcome them. So you need a living person who can observe directly. You cannot read the books about it, because every book is not, the same medicine does not work for every student either. So you have to have a living teacher who is guiding you. A couple of things to remember is, you talked about various krupas that come along. You should talk about sadhana krupa, guru krupa, deva krupa. But if I can elaborate on that just a little bit, we talk about sadhana krupa is where you're reading the scriptures, various spiritual books, guides, different new technology giving you information. But it is the teacher who is observing you on day-to-day basis, or regular basis at least, who sees your progress and he is satisfied. When that teacher is satisfied with your progress, Guru Praka is basically, he gives you the grace of his that, yes, I'm satisfied with your work. And then what happens is, because he comes from the tradition of Sadashiva Samarambhat, that teacher is able to pass on the divine grace through himself. But the last part you got to remember, and that's what I emphasize it the most. The most important part that we need to add to what you said is called Atma Krupa. Because you can get the understanding of the knowledge and kind of wisdom through the teacher's teachings, personal experience, knowledge from your what you call fellow students, but having gotten that specific understanding through words, somebody has to experience himself. Let me explain. You come to me for your cataract surgery, Prasanna, and that ophthalmic surgeon does an outstanding work on your eyes, and he puts the appropriate plastic lens there, but that surgeon cannot see for you. He is going to tell you, Prasanna, you open your eyes and you can see it. The same thing applies to Atma Krupa. The teacher can give you the words of wisdom, direct you and bring you to the correct stage of spiritual understanding. But ultimately, the ultimate leap, the individual has to take himself or herself. That is the Atma Krupa. So that when you're talking about getting the grace of the scripture, Sadhana Krupa, grace of the teacher, Guru Krupa, who passes on Dev Krupa, the individual himself has to make his own efforts to open his eyes, that means his behavior, having learned all those things along the way, and then he's able to see and experience himself. The last comment I want to make after your brilliant presentation, you raise a question of telemedicine and teleguru. A good observation, except I have a major problem with it. If you remember, if you go to telemedicine these days, and if you are lucky enough to have a good doctor, periodically the doctor will say, I think we have done it 2-3 times on the telemedicine. I want you to come to and see me in my office. So periodically, the good doctor will invite you back to his office or her office and give you a complete look over to make certain that you are really indeed okay and you're on the right track. The same thing happened in the olden times, Prasanna. The students stayed in the ashrama where the teacher and his wife and the family were able to observe how the student really was for 24 hours around the clock, not only when he appears on the Zoom meetings. So that you are able to see the performance of an individual around the clock. So he recognizes that person is properly trained. So that's why it's very important to have that understanding. And as a matter of fact, the comment that I'll bring, because I miss my wife dearly, if you remember, Kumut discussed Prashna Upanishad in the old temple. When these brilliant students appeared in the ashrama, he said, whatever I little know, I'll teach you at the end the question that you have. Semicolon, however, I want you to stay in my ashrama for a year. Do the tapasya under my observation. So it is important for the guru to observe how they are in their day-to-day activities around the clock. So personal observation is very critical. So I'll stop here. There are a lot of other things I could say, but I want to hear what other people have to say. Thank you, Prasanna. Well done.
I was trying to compare this to, for example, learning physics or something like that. I think you mentioned that in your talk as well. Yeah, so there are passages in Gita, I am into you, you are not into me, etc., and those kinds of things that need explanation, certainly. But in physics also, an electron passes through 2 slits if you're not looking at it, and only 1 slit if you are looking at it. Well, that needs quite a bit of explanation also.
Mm-hmm.
So it isn't a matter of degree of difficulty. There are degrees of difficulty all over the place. But I think that there is a fundamental difference. And that is that when it comes to Brahman and Atman and Tattvamasi, which is the main topic in Upanishads, we are continually reminded that we cannot understand it. We are repeatedly being told that we cannot understand Brahman. If you look at Nirvana Shatakam, right? The whole thing, beautifully explains why you cannot understand. It is that subject-object argument, right? When I'm looking at this laptop through my eyes understand the laptop doesn't understand my eyes, and so on and so forth. So all of this, we are all objects, including our thoughts. And we are trying to understand the subject, which is God, which is Brahman. And essentially, that is impossible by using traditional methods of understanding. The way we understand physics, and we need gurus all over for everything you need the gurus. Without a guru, it's going to take much longer. So here, the traditional methods, listening to people, no matter how good they are, thinking about it, which is a matter of using your brain, right? Concentrating on that subject. I mean, these are the sorts of things we do if we, in school, right? We understand mathematics and physics and chemistry, biology, whatever is your subject. Those methods, we are being told, will not work in understanding Brahman. That's the biggest problem to me, right? I think it is very unfortunate from my point of view that it has turned out this way, because the only way I know how to get from here to there is by thinking about it. Okay. So we need other methods, whatever they are. Is meditation such a thing? I am not a meditator to any great extent, so I have no experience to be able to say anything about it. But if we believe in this idea of Nirvana Shatakam, it raises a basic point, whether it is done by, listening to YouTube, and there are a lot of great gurus on YouTube that I also love, or whether it is done from India, whatever the methods of transmission might be, they are all not going to work. According to Nirvana Shatakam. And that, I think, is a fundamental difference that otherwise, a guru, we know what we hope for in a guru, right? He has to be knowledgeable, certainly. He has to be able to communicate. I mean, there are a lot of knowledgeable people, like research professors and so on, but they cannot communicate anything to you, right? It's that everybody has their limitations. So guru has to be able to communicate. He has to have humility, because my belief is that nobody knows everything. So one has to understand the limits of knowledge, right? And at least in subjects like physics and so forth, the main purpose of the guru is to make the student better than the guru. If that doesn't happen in physics, all progress will stop. We would still be talking about Aristotle. If we had thought that Aristotle was the ultimate. So that is another basic difference between subjects like, physics and chemistry, and something else called Brahman. The topic of Brahman doesn't change. If you look back over the history of 2000 years, physics has moved from zero to infinity, so to speak. So has medical science and everything else. What has happened to philosophy of Brahman? It hasn't changed one bit. I'm overstating the case a little bit, I know. But it's something that is constant. Same Gita being taught for thousands of years, perhaps in the same way, and that is quite different than a subject like computer science, or that can get obsolete in a matter of a couple of years. So that is another difference in teaching the two things. So anyway, I'll stop here. My main concern has to do with this subject-object argument and the fact that traditional methods are not going to work.
Yeah, I have had exactly the same experience, and our teacher has given me guidance when I raised this kind of subject with her. And it was very simple, totally simple. And it is the kind of the fourth source of grace, looking inwards. She said, do the practices, do the sadhana that helps you open your heart. Never mind all the philosophy, right? I enjoy philosophy. That's why I go to courses. That's why I come here in the morning. But that is not that is a mechanism, that is a practice that helps me move forward. When I go out and spend time in nature, it's at least as effective, if not more so. If I spend time with my family, that helps to open the heart equally. And my sense, for what it's worth, is that that is the way, that logical analysis, as you said, it helps, but it cannot lead to the ultimate goal. And if it's not the brain that enables it, what is it? And best as I can tell, it's the heart.
Well, first of all, I really wanted to tell you, the subject matter was incredibly timely for all of us. We're getting older and hopefully wiser and more spiritual, etc. And I like that comment about the cataract of ignorance, etc. Removing the cataract in one shot is fine, but I think this kind of cataract, we have to take layer by layer off ourselves. And that means a guru is very much needed for that. But I just cannot feel depressed or despondent that all the gurus that have come before us, we talk about such a legacy of gurus, Jnaneshwar and Namdev and Shankaracharya, and I would put Dayanand and a few other modern gurus in the same category. I cannot believe that only a living guru is what will take you to whatever you want to call it, liberation or whatever. I believe it is one of those things that is one on top of the other, all the philosophy, and everyone saying the same thing in their own language, in their own way, etc., could not have an impact on us. I have gone to many different places where almost on the first day, they say, well, does anybody want to take Diksha? This Guruji will grant you Diksha. And I've always stayed as far away from that as possible, because I don't want instant Diksha. I want to work for it. I want to strive. I want to make the effort to learn and see if I'm internalizing everything, all the messages. So actually, this was quite a good discussion on all of this. And I really feel all the gurus that have come before us have impacted us, as well as trying to find or go seeking a guru. I have them all over the place. I mean, I've had gurus since the day I stepped into school, right? I mean, they were, and then my livelihood and everything else, all the gurus that have mentored me. But the spiritual side is now, you are in the place of those gurus who are trying to give that message. And I really appreciate that. And I really feel that you're taking me forward to some point I would not have reached without listening to all your lectures. So thank you.
I think I'll just pick it up on what John said and advance it further. We talk about going to the heart. And when you're talking about the heart, is basically talk about three different components of a human personality, which is Sat, Chit, Ananda, existence, awareness, and unlimited happiness. Awareness is what I'm talking about, the Chit. That awareness is the one which comes basically from the cosmic consciousness, the cosmic awareness. And that's exactly what Anand is rightfully talking about, the subject-object understanding. But as long as we maintain the humility that our awareness is only an infinitely minute portion of the cosmic consciousness, and see in that light that everything that we observe is that minute portion of consciousness which makes our personality sentient, then it makes it easier for me. Every person has to achieve that understanding for himself or herself. Just as I mentioned to you, Atma Krupa, the person himself or herself has to open the eyes and see for himself. The same thing applies here. For that individual to see the subject and understand its connection with the cosmic consciousness. Unless and until you're able to do that, your personal ego will keep you grounded in the material world and say you cannot find the answer. But I cannot answer for everybody's satisfaction. Only person I can answer for is for myself. I feel very much at peace because I can see the connection with the cosmic consciousness. I cannot take individual to that way. Everybody can take it to that level, but then that personal individual has to take the final step to understand it. So I understand where Anand is coming from. I struggled for a long time for the same way, but only when I was able to connect with my own personal living guru, I was able to work with him for 29 years before he passed on. At the same time, I will tell you one more thing, Anand. Take it for whatever you want to take it. Even now, when he is gone, those teachers who are connected with you can still give you the answers to the question that may arise in your mortal world. Just like Gnaneshwar can still teach me, Namdev can still teach me, Shankaracharya can still teach me, and Swami Dayananda can still teach me. What I'm trying to say is that these individuals who come in your life, either through the books, communications, or direct contact, continue to maintain a positive indwelling mark on your personality to deal with your day-to-day activities. But again, the idea of meeting on a regular basis as friends, learning from each other, supporting each other, to me, that's the greatest thing that we've been lucky enough to do in our community. But everyone runs at his or her own pace. At the same time, one has to do as we always do. We have a mutual respect and understanding and say that, yes, I understand where you're coming from. At the same time, my understanding is in this particular level, and we should respect each other for that. Thank you.